outside. Like I have one.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Kirby. I'm a registered dietitian at Grace Health. Today we are going to talk to you guys about adding more fruits and vegetables into your diet. Summer is the perfect time to do that, especially because a lot of people have gardens, there's farmers markets, especially in Michigan. That's when more of the local grocery stores and things have fresh produce. So we thought this would be the perfect time for that. Unfortunately, Kristine is unable to make it today, but we will still go on.
And I'm Amy Dandino, and I do the healthy lifestyle coaching here at Grace Health. So Kirby's going to start off talking about how to make some wonderful, tasty salads.
All right, so first off, for starting your salad, you want to start with the base of your greens. I really like to mix it up, giving it different texture. You can use romaine, spinach, iceberg, especially kids, or if you're not really used to eating salads, a lot of people like to go for the iceberg. That's also the least expensive, but if you can mix it up, maybe doing a little bit of iceberg with some spinach, that's a good way to get the different texture and different colors. But that would be the base of your salad that you want to start with.
What do you like to use for proteins?
For proteins, grilled chicken. If you want to go for an option that gives you a little bit of fiber as well as protein, beans are a good option. Black beans, kidney beans, pinto beans. Those not only provide protein, but they also provide fiber. Fiber helps you stay full longer, as well as fiber is awesome because it acts like a little toothbrush and can help clean out the fat in your arteries. It's also typically cheaper than your meat products, especially right now. Meat is pretty expensive, so trying to do vegetarian a couple times a week can really help cut down on the budget, especially if it's hot out. Well, obviously grilled chicken doesn't have to be hot, but it's also a really quick option. You can just open the can, rinse them off, and add them to your salad. Grilled tofu, if you're feeling brave, is a good option. As Amy said, a lot of people
are afraid of tofu.
Tofu, I have a lot of people say, tofu, yuck, I've tried that and it's terrible. Tofu takes on whatever flavor you put on it. In fact, I've tried, my kids love tofu. They think it's the best thing ever. However, they like it with salt and just grilled and maybe a little bit of garlic. I made it for them this week and neither one of them would touch it, and because I flavored it differently. Tofu takes on whatever flavor you put on it. So just because you've had it before does not mean you don't like it. You just maybe need to try flavoring it different. Try with flavors you obviously know you really like. You could try very, very basic. You could do like my boys like. They just like a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt. You can just do it in a pan on the stove, a little bit of olive oil, like maybe a tablespoon, slice it. I do it just like grilled chicken. Grill it on one side, grill it on the other, sprinkle a little bit of salt, a little bit of garlic. I like to put like turmeric and lots of other flavors on it. Whatever flavor you like. You can slice that up, throw it on a salad.
Do you use a grill pan or grill it outside, or?
Because I'm lazy, I usually just use a grill pan and do it in the kitchen.
Well, I probably would too.
But I mean, yes, it's good outside on a grill, but I usually just use it on the stove in a grill pan with about a tablespoon of oil, just like you would basically like a chicken. And grill it until it's technically you don't have to, like, you're not going to cook it. It's not going to get hard like chicken, but you're just going to grill it on each side.
So the grilling is really just for flavor. It's already pre-cooked. Okay, good.
Yeah, in fact, you can make it like crispier if you want to. My kids like it pretty soft, but typically it's going to have more flavor, and I think it tastes better if you're doing it more like about 5 minutes on each side, where it's a little more dense, firm. Yeah.
Okay. What do you like to add for crunch?
Crunch, you want to try to stay away from things like crackers, croutons. That's going to add a lot of calories. You really want to add, if you want that, you want to add that last, very, very last, the very top. But you can add a lot of crunch to your salad before that by adding things like bell peppers, cucumbers, celery, carrot, pea pods, purple cabbage. The more color you can put on your salad, the more appealing it'll be. The more you're going to be like, oh, that looks so yummy, I want to eat it. If you were to have Fruit Loops sitting in front of kids or Cheerios in front of kids, they're going to go for the Fruit Loops because they're colorful and fun. Adults are the same, we're just bigger. The more colorful the salad is, the more drawn you're going to be to it. And the smaller you chop things, the better it's going to taste because the better the flavors are going to blend. So I recommend chopping and dicing these things small so that it blends better. If you just have a big old slice of cucumber on your salad or like a big old slice of bell pepper, that's not going to blend in and you're not going to get the mix of flavors. Okay. So I recommend dicing these things up and spreading it out in a salad. This is a great way to add a lot of flavor pop to your salad as well. You can start with your bed of lettuce and you could literally add that much more in all these different flavors.
Tell us about your version of the taco salad because I really love it.
I love taco salad because it's very hearty. You can be. Sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want a salad, I'm starving afterwards, or I just don't feel like I had enough to eat. Like, how am I going to be full after just eating some vegetables? A taco salad is a very hearty meal. You know, you start with your lettuce, you add all your veggies on. You can either do the grilled chicken or you can do like turkey. You can make it just like your turkey meat like you would for tacos. Season it and everything and put that on. Or you can do like chicken or turkey sandwich meat. You can cut it up, slice it, put some on. But then you can add your beans as well. You can even do beans and your meat. So you just like you're making a burrito, only your base is the lettuce, the salad, the veggies, and then you can add salsa on to give it a lot more flavor. That's what I use also as like my dressing, but it's also just adding a lot more flavor to your salad. And then for the top, you can take I recommend using your hand and grabbing like one handful of chips and crumpling it and putting it on the top to get your taco salad. This is also really good if you have like maybe teenagers in the house that are doing sports, that are just think they're starving and need to eat more. And this is a good way where you don't have to make multiple meals for the house. You can eat your salad. You can still feel like you don't feel like you have to feel cheated, that you're not getting enough food. You can have a good portion of food this way. But if you have, the kids in your house that just really feel they need more, you can easily throw some tortilla shells out there and they can also turn that into a burrito and have a salad and burrito with it.
What about dressings for our salads?
So dressings, I love, as I was just saying, the taco salad, I love adding salsa to my salads. It's really just adding more veggies, but it's loaded with flavor. Also squeezing like lemon or lime. This isn't adding any calories. It's actually, the citrus actually helps absorb a lot of the vitamins from the different vegetables as well. Things you want to try to stay away from are your creamies, your creamy dressings, your French, your ranch. They're very high in calories. And not necessarily that calories are the enemy. Like if you're adding an avocado, yes, that's high in calories, but it's also your healthy fats. These creamy dressings are very high in like your saturated fats. Like this has 2 grams of saturated fats. Saturated fats are what you want to try to limit. They're not good for your heart. You can have this beautiful salad that you've worked very hard to get this healthy meal, and you've chopped up all these beautiful vegetables, and you can just, 2 tablespoons is 120 calories right there. First off, the biggest problem is typically no one follows the serving size. So we're using way more than that. So you can easily add 300, 400, 500 calories by adding this dressing on right here. Now, if you do want to use dressing, and not to say that you cannot have ranch or can't have French, if you absolutely love it, that's fine. My kids still think they want some ranch. But I recommend using a measuring, like an actual, not just like pouring it on, but actually using a measuring spoon and measuring it out. Okay. Now, if you're doing that, you're probably going to measure it out and be like, oh my goodness, that's all I get. So I still recommend trying to add like some lemon, lime, salsa first, so that you're still getting some dressing that way and then doing this, but measuring it. Okay.
Cottage cheese too is nice.
So cottage cheese is really good. That also is another protein.
Yeah,
an
it's wet, and then you don't feel like you need the dressing.
My favorite is cottage cheese and salsa on my salad. And then I don't even feel like I'm being cheated at all by not having this.
I'm always encouraging people to pack their lunches for work. So what would be the best way to pack a salad?
So packing a salad, you can actually do, I know it's really popular right now, mason jars for everything. Not just salad, just mason jars are popular for everything right now. You can actually pack in mason jars for up to you can store a salad in there for about 5 days. Now, with doing that, you want to make sure that you put the dressing first, okay? Then you want to put your hard vegetables. So if you're doing like carrots or peppers, maybe the broccoli, your hard things that aren't going to absorb. You want to do those next. And then you can do your greens. Point with greens. Those would be things like maybe pasta, or maybe if you're doing a little bit of pasta salad, or your beans. Those would go next. And on that point, if you're someone that's not used to eating salads, if you make like a pasta salad or a chicken salad or like a tuna salad and you put that on your salad, that can help you kind of get used to eating salads a little bit, because you're putting something that's maybe not your typical salad topping, but adding it to a salad, adding the veggies to it can help you get used to it a little bit more, because you're just kind of slowly adding some more vegetables to it. Or maybe you're not ready to take that step, but maybe when you're making your chicken salad, you try adding some extra celery to it, maybe putting some grapes into it. You can add some extra fruits or vegetables into it, maybe adding a tomato, maybe you have some tomato with it, or maybe you just put, like a piece of lettuce with it on your sandwich, but try to just slowly incorporating those in. Okay, and back to our mason jar, sorry. Then you would want to add like your protein, so maybe like your grilled chicken, like your sandwich meat that I like to cut up to put on because it's easy. Then your greens. Then you would want to do, if you were doing like berries, cheese, nuts, your soft things like your berries that are more gentle, wet type thing. Not wet, but like
you don't want
crumble. You don't want them crushed and crumbled. Now, if you are making that the day before, that is fine to add them. But if you're making these salads for like 3-4 days in a row, it's fine to make the whole salad in the jar, but you do not want to add the berries and things till the night before.
Okay.
So those you would want to hold off on, but you can prep most of it ahead of time. Now, this is not meant to be eaten from the jar. You actually still want to take a bowl with you, and then you would dump it into the bowl, and then the dressing will be able to drizzle like on top. You can eat it that way.
A lot of times we'll just take a Tupperware type of bowl and layer it just the way you said, but then I just flip it over and shake it up.
Shake it.
I've only dirtied one bowl.
So there you go. Even better. Less dishes. Woohoo! All right. Other things that you can do to help flavor your salad is add, especially if you're doing like the cottage cheese, like Amy said, and like I love, is you can add a little bit of like garlic or oregano. There's lots of ways to add flavor. We actually forgot to talk about, Amy and I both love, is like a vinaigrette. It's a great way to add a lot of flavor to a salad without needing very much dressings. But oregano, garlic, those are also good ways to add a lot of flavor to your salad. And those are things that you can actually have in your kitchen or be growing like plants in your kitchen or outdoors, especially right now with summer. You can do lots of gardening, which Amy does a lot of.
I love to garden. It's my happy place. So I brought a couple of things to show you today, because the herbs are so easy to grow. They're really pretty foolproof. So you want to start with something that's got good drainage. This is just a plastic pot, and because this is going to go out with some other herbs that I have on my deck, I want to cute it up a little bit. So rather than this black plastic pot. You can take any kind of material. This is just some burlap, but you could use a bandana. I mean, anything you've got if you just want to make it look a little bit nicer. So you just kind of press that in there. And, whoops, I need my soil. I get to get my hands dirty and play in the dirt with my job here. So I'm going to put a little dirt in the bottom. So I've got some dirt in here, and then I'm just going to pop this out. And this looks pretty good. Sometimes they're kind of root bound, so you just kind of want to massage them a little bit. It just kind of helps them to re-root faster. So you're going to kind of press it in. You don't have to be overly gentle because these are pretty hardy plants. So I'm going to put some more soil in there. And sometimes after you watered a few times, it looks like the soil's kind of sunk down, and you can just add some more to the top.
How often do you water it?
Really depends on the weather. I'm making a mess here.
It's really cute with the bird.
Yeah, isn't it cute? It's so easy to do too. Really depends on the weather. I mean, if it's cool and rainy, obviously you don't water it so much. But in the summertime, I try to remember to water my pots a little bit every day.
Now these are the ones you're keeping outdoors or indoors?
These are outdoors because I don't have anything under here to hold this, so this is going to drain, which is why I brought the tablecloth in. So this is going to go outside. If you're going to have something inside, you want to either put it in a plastic container or something so it won't drain all over your floor. So in the wintertime, the pots that I use are going to have something underneath them because I have to keep them going. So when you're gardening outside, you can really use all sorts of stuff. If you want, if it's not going to have drain holes in it, you want to put a layer of gravel or rocks, something like that, so that it doesn't get too wet at the bottom. But if you were going to use this outside, I would just take like a Phillips screwdriver and just punch some holes in the bottom so that it drains out. So I'm going to put a cherry tomato plant.
Now your indoor ones, how often do you water those?
Oh, once or twice a week in the wintertime. And if the furnace is running a lot, it's drier in the house, so a couple times a week. The basil, you can keep that going all winter. Now by spring, the basil plant usually looks pretty sad, but you can always buy them at the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. So they always have basil, they usually have dill, oregano, some of the basic herbs you can always buy at the grocery store. And if you have a bridge card, that's actually covered because it's edible, it's food, so that's just a nice thing to do. So here I've got cherry tomatoes. These are the super sweet 100s. They keep going all summer long. Now this is a trick that I didn't always know, but I'm going to do it today. So when you've got this plant that's kind of gangly, I'm going to pinch off the leaves, the little stems at the bottom here, because it helps with stability. And there's a lot of times you get a lot of these stems at the bottom, and they really don't help produce anything. So I'm going to take these off.
Yeah, something I just learned that I'll have to let you guys know how it works too is instead of doing fertilizer, because it's really expensive right now, is to do a raw egg is to crack it and put it at the bottom when you're planting it to help fertilize it. Which I'll have to let you all know how it works. This is the first time I've tried it this year.
Yeah, I may have to try that too.
Mm.
Okay, so this is not very root bound.
Going through a dozen eggs trying it this year, so we'll see.
Okay, so I need to take a little bit of soil out of the bottom. I pre-filled this a little bit, but I've got too much in here, so I'm going to take a little bit out because I want to bury it partially. Putting it below the ground also makes it more stable. So if you've got a windy day and that kind of stuff, it's not going to flop around. Some people will stake their tomatoes or use those tomato cages. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to do that. So I'm going to fill this and cover up most of that stem kind of up to about to the top of this.
So what are some of the things you use with your plants to cook with?
Well, I love the cherry tomatoes, and my kids and grandkids all do too. So we go through a lot of cherry tomatoes.
Capri salad and
yeah. So with the basil, the basil, if it's in the tomato's gonna want full sun, but the basil doesn't need full sun. So the basil, I actually like it better if it's in a partially sunny area, because then the leaves don't get tough. Sometimes I grow it in the garden because I'm gonna make pesto in the fall, and those leaves get a little bit harder, so they're fine for the pesto, but they're not quite as enticing like on a salad or
So how do you
sandwich.
make your pesto?
Oh, differently each time. I use olive oil. The recipe I have calls for pine nuts, but pine nuts are always ridiculously expensive, and you can substitute almonds for that, so you grind them up. I use a food processor, but then I freeze it. So when I make the pesto, then I put it like in ice cube trays or little mini muffin pans and freeze it, and then I use it all winter long for pasta dishes. So there we have the tomato. So yeah, I'm gonna take
My
that
kids
home.
being, big kids are always big pasta eaters. So what I will do is I'll get like about a cup of it and I put it in the blender with a can of white beans and some lemon and a little bit of garlic, and I blend it up and make a sauce for their pasta. And they gobble it down.
That's it, yeah. And all of the herbs that you grow, if you decide to grow some, they can all be dried. So, cut off any excess during the summer or in the fall, just tie them up in the string, let them air dry. I put them in a Ziploc bag, crumble them up, write rosemary, thyme, basil, whatever it is, and then you've got herbs for the winter. Because sometimes the herbs are kind of pricey too, but it's really pretty cheap if you grow them, and they're pretty forgiving. So it's a good way to start gardening if you haven't gardened at all, is to start with the herbs.
Easy. I'm not the best with gardening, and I've honestly gotten basil plants just at like Aldi, Walmart when I go, because I'm like, oh well, and I can keep them alive, so.
Yeah, dill is nice too if you like to cook fish. Dill plants, they're really hardy, and they'll do well outside, so just pick up some dill and put it on your fish. The other things, a couple of things that I like to do is some herbs that I grow for drinks. So my grandkids think it's fun to pinch off some mint or lemon balm or something like that and put it in their drinks, because we're trying to, of course, stay away from the sugary drinks. So a lot of times I'll just put that in a pot of flowers or just have them somewhere on the deck where everybody knows that's the mint plant. Now the mint, if you put it in the ground, it's going to spread all over. Just a warning. It's not an unpleasant thing to spread, but it will spread a lot. Also chives well. I've had a bowl of chives that, seriously, it's over 20 years old. It's just, I leave it outside all winter long. I do absolutely nothing to it. Every spring it comes up these beautiful chives, and then it has little purple flowers later on. So chives and mint are super easy, and you can pretty much, if you've got a place to stick them in the ground, you can just neglect them and they will do fine. So, but yeah, the mint and the lemon balm is really nice for drinks. So you want to talk about some good options for summer drinks?
Yeah, my kids love like lavender, mint. If I stick a little bit of lemon in there or berries in there, they just think that is the best thing ever. And it's so refreshing because they spend so much time playing outside in the summer. And they just find that so refreshing. And it's actually very soothing to your stomach as well. So that's a positive. Some things that you do not want to do that may seem like they're refreshing, but really not good for you. Number one thing I see is, especially parents or kids, they think that, especially media likes to make us think that Gatorade is a good option. Kids are playing outside, they've been playing outside on a hot summer day, they think, I'll give them a Gatorade. Well, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll show you right there. There we go. This is how much sugar is in a Gatorade, just from one of these. And I don't know about you, but my kids are only 8 and 5, and they could probably, if they're playing outside, easily drink 2 or 3 of these when they're outside playing. One way I've helped my kids really learn, because you can look at this and be like, oh, okay, whatever. But I'm like, would you put that on a spoon and eat that much sugar? No. But you don't realize it. And this might be kind of a fun project if you have kids, or even if you don't have kids, it's kind of fun to do on your own too, is take your favorite drink, look at the back. Anytime you look at the word total carbohydrate or sugar and that number is not 0, I want to challenge you to actually try this and measure out how much sugar is actually in the drink. Because this is Gatorade, which oftentimes people are like, oh, well, I'm not drinking pop, so it's fine.
Yeah.
First off, these drinks are really expensive. Their price really adds off when you could just be adding some mint or some lavender or some, there's some other things. I'm trying to get this other
lemon
thing.
balm.
The lemon balm. I've never tried that.
Oh,
I have to get that one to a drink. They like to do diffused, like I'll get a big picture, cut up some lemon, maybe throw a couple berries in there, and they can just pour it out of that. I like to get them they have a special water bottle, not this obviously, like their own water bottle that they think is really cool because it's their special water bottle, and they can just go to that pitcher and pour it from there, and it still has some flavor and fun to them.
Do you want to talk about tea? Because I know a lot of people are drinking teas, and
tea
a lot
is
of
another
times they
big
think
one.
that's, oh, I'm not drinking
Like,
pop, I'm drinking tea.
It's easier to see, I think, when it's pointed this way.
Yeah.
But that's the sugar in tea. Now, tea itself is a great option. Black tea is perfectly fine. But it's when you're adding the sugar to it that you want to try to limit. Now, taking just a regular tea and adding some lemon to it or adding some other flavors to it, that can really make a fun special drink. This is another drink that's really popular that everyone for some reason seems to think is really healthy. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe because it says coconut water, electrolytes, antioxidants, and they like to trick us. So much money is spent on advertisement. Millions and millions of dollars is spent on advertisement to make us, well, they want us to think it's a healthy option. Obviously, they want to sell it. This has 28 grams of sugar in it. It's kind of hard to see because the label is so big. But just so you guys know, I'm going to show you. The sugar comes clear up to here on this body armor.
Yeah, it's a lot of sugar.
I know so many people that work out and drink these. Very, very few people work out enough to even need a Gatorade. Okay?
Yeah.
First off, you need to be working out for over an hour, and it needs to be like you're sweating. Okay? And there are other good options besides that. Okay?
The other thing about the tea is it's super cheap if you make it at home. I mean, I keep, you can either do sun tea or you can do the refrigerator tea. Lipton makes what they call a cold brew, and Myers has their own version. So I keep that going year round. I just put this, it's a big tea bag, and just put it in a pitcher of water. And then you can, either drink it straight or flavor it however you want to. And it's way cheaper than buying these individual bottles.
It's crazy if you add up how much you're spending on these drinks.
Yeah.
A huge thing for people, obviously, hopefully I'm not drinking a Frappuccino necessarily, but I mean, this is 300 calories. And you may be thinking, okay, sugar, what's the big deal? But a lot of people, I will add up how many calories they're drinking just from their drinks. Very rarely is someone just having this and being like, oh, that was my lunch for today. First off, I hope you're not, because then you're not getting the beautiful vitamins. I always tell my kids, like, their berries and their vegetables, those are their vitamins for the day. Those are their little boosters to help prevent their colds, which are always right now with COVID. They don't want any cold because they don't want to miss out on their sports or their events at school. So they are wanting all those little boosters of vitamins. But oftentimes these drinks are not just done on their own. You're going to drink this, but you're still going to eat your meal. Well, if you add these up, if you're doing just 2 drinks a day, for most people that adds up to about anywhere between about 15 to 18 pounds a year. So if you think about it, 15 to 18 pounds a year worth of calories that you're consuming.
Yeah, because the number one thing that I always like to talk to patients about if they identify that they want to lose weight is to get them off all the sugar-based drinks, because people don't realize how many calories they're taking in. I mean, it's easy to rack up 500,000 calories a day in beverages if you're not paying attention.
So this one right here is 300 calories. To lose a pound a week, you want to be down 500 calories a day. Okay. So you want to be down 500 calories a day, and this right here is 300.
So just eliminating the sugar drinks would take care of it for a lot of people.
For longer workouts, a good alternative would be actually chocolate milk. The combination of the protein and sugar for that is a good recovery drink, especially if you're going for long bike rides. That is a good option. Now, chocolate milk may not really, I'm just thinking if I'm hot and sweaty, that may not be the exact drink you want while working out, but that is a good recovery, like if you've gone on, maybe you've gone on an hour and a half long bike ride, and that would be a good post-recovery drink. Now, if you're doing really extensive bike rides, or not just bike rides, but extensive workouts, unless it's more than an hour and in the heat, because of how much sodium and things we're just getting in our general diet, you really don't need to drink an alternative drink. Water itself is perfectly fine.
Some of us are never going to work out hard enough to need a replacement drink, so it just depends what you're doing.
But
as
far as like muscle repair, the amount of protein, sugar, if you're doing like a post drink after working out, chocolate milk is actually a really good option.
Mm-hmm. Most people like that too.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here, and I actually cannot think of the name of it, but there's also a hydration. They're the packs that you add to your water. I'm going to have to look that up or write it on the comments.
What about the coconut waters and stuff?
It doesn't have I do like the coconut water as well. It doesn't have as much sugar in it.
Okay.
Actually, I have those in my fridge. That's good if you're doing over an hour and like sweating. That would be a good option as well. And I have to look up the hydration packet thing that you would add to your water. Let's see here. And then we were also going to just kind of talk to you guys a little bit about some options for the farmers market, because I know we have one of those in Battle Creek that started.
It started in May. In Battle Creek, the farmers market is Wednesday from 9 to 1 p.m. and then I think they have Saturday hours. I'm not sure. I usually go down on a Wednesday.
So if we're not very knowledgeable about this part, we are sorry. This is actually the part Kristine was going to cover, who had a sick child today. But we're going to try to cover it.
But every community has a farmers market. I know there's a very nice one in Marshall that several people I know go to, so that's another good one. And there's a program called, if you have a bridge card, you can sign up for Double Up, you probably can't say this, Double Up Food Bucks is what it's called. And you can go to the doubleupfoodbucks.org to sign up for it. And it's a program where if you can spend up to $20, I believe, a day at like the farmer's market, and then you get a voucher for an additional $20, but it can only be spent on fruits and vegetables. Family Fair is the only grocery store in our area that participates with that. That might be different in different communities, but I think all of the farmers markets, and I know in Battle Creek they actually have a little stand set up. So if you went down and you've got a bridge card and you had questions about how does this work, you can just go over and there's somebody there that will answer those questions for you. So the farmers markets, they vary from week to week. Right now, early spring, you get some dark greens, you get some asparagus, that sort of thing. But a lot of the produce that a lot of us are really waiting for, it's going to be late June, July when you start getting more of the wide variety. And then in the fall,
rhubarb's out right now.
Yeah, rhubarb's out. Then in the fall, there's a lot of squash and pumpkins and root vegetables and that kind of stuff. So it just varies as far as what's being grown at that time. But yeah, check out your farmers markets. Not everything at the farmers market is healthy, so there's a lot of baked goods and things like that are sold, but you can make some really good choices at the farmers market. What else do we have about budgeting?
So one thing I want to point out to you guys is, I know it is very tempting, and I have done this sometimes myself, to buy like the pre-chopped vegetables or the pre-packaged things that make it super simple, but those just are very expensive. For example, I don't have the exact numbers because Kristine was covering this, I'm sorry, but I know that when I was glancing at it, I was looking up like chopped onions, when you can go through the produce, and for an ounce, I believe that was like $1.50 for an ounce, compared to being like 58 cents if you bought them in the frozen section for the onions. Or I don't remember what I don't remember what the fresh was.
Yeah, the fresh has got to be cheap because that one's usually not terribly expensive.
But I do remember oatmeal. If you were to buy the packaged oatmeal, was like up to $3 for those servings of packaged oatmeals, compared to it was like 40 cents.
Yeah, because I don't.
For
the
big
thing
containers.
of old-fashioned oats is less than $3. And you get 30 servings, I think, out of that. So yeah.
So really be careful with that. Some other things that we have from here that are really big differences too. People are always worried about like, well, I don't buy vegetables because it's too expensive to buy the fresh. It is okay to buy canned. It is okay to buy frozen. That is perfectly fine. You are still getting vitamins, you're still getting nutrients, you're still getting the fibers. In fact, especially living in Michigan, and especially for foods that are out of season, especially for the frozen, a lot of times that is actually a better option, because the nutrients are actually, I'm gonna say, frozen in place. Like, by the time we get the fresh fruits, they have actually, they become less the older foods are, and because they are frozen when the fruit is younger, those vitamins are more power packed. So it is perfectly fine to buy the frozen option or the canned option. I know fresh sometimes seems more appealing, but it's also good because they last longer. I know for like some of the things like green beans or like peas and things like that, I actually prefer to buy it, because especially with kids, they go through spurts of like they wanted a ton, they don't want it, they wanted a ton, so I prefer it because it doesn't go to waste.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so
Well,
hopefully you guys got a little bit of knowledge. And just so you guys know, anyone that is a patient at Grace Health, they are welcome to come to us for services. I see the diabetic patients, so if you're a diabetic patient and you're struggling with your blood sugars or weight, you're more than welcome to make an appointment with me. And
yeah, any family or any Grace Health patient can be seen for healthy lifestyle coaching. You don't need a referral from your provider. You can just call our receptionist and they will put you on my schedule, and then you identify what goals you want to work on, and we'll come up with a plan to help you meet those goals. So I think we pretty much covered everything today. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a healthy summer.